What's up, Taiwan? I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. More senior government officials from the Philippines will be allowed to visit Taiwan, according to a new memo from Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. An earlier policy banned all officials from the Philippines from traveling to Taiwan. That ban is now limited to the President, Vice President, Foreign Minister, and the Defense Minister. The memo also paves a way for official delegations from Taiwan to visit the Philippines. The memo does not mention any change to Manila's One China policy. Lawmakers in Taiwan are strengthening ties with Ukraine, welcoming new members of a parliamentary friendship association between the two countries, both of which face pressure from powerful neighbors. Tiffany Wong has more.
The legislature is inaugurating new members of Taiwan's Parliamentary Friendship Association with Ukraine. That's a group of lawmakers from both sides coming together through shared values of human rights, freedom, and democracy. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Taiwan has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine, pointing to parallels between the two nations' tense relations with larger neighbors.
Taiwan and Ukraine may be geographically distant, but we are united by common purpose and shared vulnerability. We both stand on the front line of authoritarian regimes' pressures. That is why this parliamentary friendship group is not symbolic, it is strategic. It is a declaration that democracy do not stand alone. We are stronger together and we must act together. Slava Ukraine.
Several advocates from Ukraine who helped coordinate the charter are also here in Taipei. They say more exchanges between Taiwan and Ukraine will make both countries more resilient.
I think that right now the fact that we are here, Ukraine is still fighting on the front line. Taiwan is constantly working on increasing its security infrastructure and on establishing more and more connections with Ukraine. This is proof that we are strong and we will be even stronger in the future to defeat all threats.
The new members of the friendship group are lawmakers representing Taiwan's legislature elected last year. Now these legislators are aiming to pick up that work, bridging ties between Taiwan and Ukraine on political, economic, and ideological fronts to fight for and maintain peace in their countries. Ryan Wu and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in New Delhi, marking his first official trip to Asia. The visit comes as India is negotiating a trade deal with the U.S. to avoid tariffs after President Donald Trump's 90-day pause. To learn more about Vance's visit, our reporter Adil Brar spoke to Pramit Pal Chaudhary, head of India practice at Eurasia Group.
What's the significance of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance's visit to India?
So we've seen a number of Trump administration officials come by. The most noticeable was Tulsi Gabbard, the head of the DNIC, has already come to India. We now see J.D. Vance coming, and though it's a largely personal trip, it obviously has an overall, it has an element of officialdom. We will see him having dinner with the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, tonight. And tomorrow, Vance is expected to make a policy statement speech about the India-U.S. relationship as a whole.
With President Trump slapping steep tariffs on major Asian economies, do you think India can reach a trade deal before the 90-day freeze ends?
On the tariffs, India made, I think, a strikingly radical proposal, at least by Indian standards, a zero-for-zero tariff on 70% of all goods. The only sticking point is agriculture, where India has said we need to have some degree of protection. So that will be, I think, the primary area of the tariff negotiations. They are now being merged, if you wish, with the second tranche to accelerate the process. On the technology front, India is very closely aligned with the United States already. So I see more of a tweaking of the policies of India rather than anything else. India, as you know, is highly hostile to China. There's already banned TikTok, WeChat, Weibo. All of these are already have been thrown out of the country.
How is India reacting to President Trump's strategy of taking on China with their trade war this time around?
So I think the game for India, as I said, is broadly hostile. Geopolitically, it sees China as a rival and is aligned with America on that front. I think there are only two concerns. One is the, quote, Trump's desire to have a, quote, big deal with China. What exactly does that entail? In the last administration, he thought he had one, with China committing to buy certain American products and so on. But in the end, of course, it failed. Nothing much happened on that front. I think India's view is that a big deal with China, even in this administration, will be, one, even more difficult than it was before, and two, it will not have a strategic component. In other words, whatever it happens on the trade, the rebalancing of the enormous trade surplus that China has with the United States, it will not really affect the fact that America still sees China as its primary strategic competitor.
That was Pramit Pal Chaudhary of Eurasia Group. A cultural icon in the Philippines is facing an uncertain future. Jeepneys have been plying the roads for generations, but they and their drivers are coming up against an effort to modernize the country's transport system. Louise Watt reports from Manila.
Jeepney driver Ray Escanilla has been ferrying passengers around Manila in this, his pride and joy, for over a decade. He earns some $10 a day, a good living, he says, for someone like him who never got to finish school. But the government is looking to phase out his source of income.
So, traditional na sa Pilipinas ang jeep. So, kung papalitan nila, hindi lang kami ang apektado, kundi pati ang mga pasahero. Kasi pagka-modern na, yung pamasahe, mataas na. So sa jeep, parang pangmasa lang.
Escanilla's jeepney is 20 years old, but its design dates back to the end of the Second World War, when Filipinos turned jeeps abandoned by US troops into passenger vehicles. Easy to fix, the diesel-powered jeepneys became a fixture in the Philippines, gaining the title King of the Road. To this day, in Manila alone, millions of people use them daily. There are around 200,000 jeepneys in the Philippines, but the government wants these gas-guzzling vehicles off the road. It's trying to replace them with modern minibuses to cut down on pollution. Many jeepney drivers are unhappy about the plan and fighting back. Piston, a group that represents them, says they can't afford to buy new vehicles without taking on a lot of debt.
Magdudulot ito ng kawalan ng hanap buhay. Pangalawa, may posibilidad na yung mga pamilya ng driver ay gugutumin at hindi nila mapapag-aral ang kanilang mga anak.
But not everyone is against the phase-out plan.
Yes, this one. I drove this one. Yeah.
When did you drive that one?
About 65 years ago.
Former jeepney driver Roberto Martin now operates 65 modern air-conditioned buses in Manila. His vehicles still run on diesel, but he says they're much cleaner than the jeepneys.
We have to put this in the museum. That's my suggestion. Because as we modernize our transport sector, we have to forget all these old units.
Martin believes the old-style jeepneys will eventually disappear from the Philippines' roads, but concedes it will take years. Successive governments have tried to phase out jeepneys, and while many have disappeared, it's clear that this iconic vehicle hasn't quite reached the end of the road. Luffy Lee, Joseph Wu, David Santos and Louise Watt in Manila for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out these Japanese Star Wars fans celebrating the announcement of a new film in the series titled Star Wars Starfighter. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, follow TaiwanPlus on socials. Pika!